joining our webinar tonight. My name is Yulia Petrachuk. I am the artistic director of the Lyric Classic Entertainment, and this is my colleague Carlo Mahfouz.
I'm Director of Innovation Strategy at Lyrica, and thank you for joining us today.
Before we start, make sure that you choose the right language to listen to. The option Russian or English is listed in your screen's down menu if you click on the globe icon. You can also use Q&A chat to ask questions during the session that our guest will answer at the end of the interview. Just would like to mention that our webinar with Enrique Mazzola is the part of an international virtual project, Spread New Music to the World. This is a collaborative artistic program between Russia and United States with the support of the US Embassy in Moscow. And it features the new American oratorio Requiem for the Fallen by American-Belgian composer Emmanuel Dubois. You can find more information on our website. Today, we have an opportunity to meet with one of the greatest conductors of our time, Italian conductor Enrique Mazzola. Hello, Maestro, and thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate that. I would like just to introduce you a little bit. So Maestro was born in Spain in a musical family and started violin and piano studies at the early age. Later, graduating to conducting and to composition at the Giuseppe Verdi Conservatory in Milano. Since '97, he has conducted in major European festivals such as Aix-en-Provence Festival, Munich Opera Festival, Festival de Radio France, Rossini Opera Festival, Biennale of Venice, Wexford Opera Festival, festivals in Wiesbaden, Granada, and Buxton, many others. He is principal guest conductor at Deutsche Oper Berlin from 2018, music director designate at Lyric Opera in Chicago from 2019, and served as artistic and music director of the Orchestre National d'Île-de-France during 7 concert seasons. In October 2018, he was made a Knight of the Order of Art and Letters, reflecting his significant contribution to musical life in France. As both an opera and concert conductor, he regularly collaborates with orchestras such as the Orchestre National de France, Orchestre de Paris, Russian National Symphony Orchestra, Orchestra dell'Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia, Orchestra Nazionale del Rai, and many others. So, Maestro, would you like to add anything to that?
No, it was a quite comprehensive list. I mean, in the festivals, I would add, of course, Salzburg Festival last summer was my, I mean, not this summer, but the summer of last year was my debut with the Vienna Philharmonic, Vienna Philharmonic in Salzburg Festival. I started also Bregenz Festival, you know, where there is this magnificent stage on the lake, and we have done this huge production of Verdi's Rigoletto. So, I mean, in future, I'm more projected, yes, in these 2 festivals and Glyndebourne Festival in UK. So,
that's great. Well,
I mean, in the biography you have mentioned, of course, I could have thousands of
exactly. We cannot if we will list everything.
I don't think we have all the time to do this, but thank you. It was a very nice introduction. It's true. I was born, let's say, in a musician's family. So in some way, my fate was written. Yes. Despite that, I have to tell you that I have a brother and a sister, and they both don't do music. They studied music as I did. So just to say that it's not obvious that if you are born in a musician's family, everybody is going to be a musician. Yes, my brother, my sister, they at certain point they decided no, and I was the only one actually trying to keep my family's tradition. But if you go back into the Mazzola family. So I am for sure the fourth generation of musicians. So that if I see, so my father, my grandfather, my grandfather, he was a very close friend of Toscanini.
Oh, wow.
And he was playing, because he was double bass player in Scala. And you know that Toscanini was cello player.
Yes.
So before Toscanini became famous, they were very close friends because they were colleagues in the orchestra. So let's say that my music family goes back to that time, and the teacher of my grandfather, I found this in internet, was a very famous double bass player in Parma in 1840s, 1850s. So during Giuseppe Verdi times.
Wow.
Wow.
Amazing.
Interesting.
This is something I've never said to anyone. So this is it's a special information for our webinar.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. For Marina, double bass means contrabass.
Yeah. But it is not a double bass, so because he sings two bass, but it's just a contrabass. Yes, sorry for it.
Some technical words. Well, thank you so much. So our webinar's general theme is how to achieve success in the modern world of the classical music industry. And of course, your success and contribution to the music industry is enormous. Can you share with us your experience and basically advice, how to succeed today for our younger talents, from the conservatories who just starting their studies or they're continuing?
Yeah. I have a small question for you and the participants. So our friends following today the webinar, they are more instrumentalists, they are more singers, they are young conductors. Can we see any answer in our conversation tool, so that I can also, how can I say, route better this conversation?
I think we have a mix, because some names I can see somebody I know already. Yeah, so we have a composer here, two composers at least. I think we have many different people. So we just would like singers.
Yeah.
Okay, here I will see.
Because you see, for example, now you mentioned a composer, you mentioned a singer, and already we have a radically different type of career. So if we want to go back to the basics, of course, at the base of a good music career is absolutely I see other informations are arriving, is a very good
choir master.
So at the base of a very good career is, of course, the preparation and the studies. So I say this because also me too, when I was studying music, I was not really very serious in studying music until 14 years old. You know, 13, 14 years old is this age of changes in life. And so I had many doubts. Actually, I was very near to abandon my music studies. And then this is something our friends composers will like. Actually, I entered in Conservatorio Giuseppe Verdi for the studies of composition. The studies in composition at Verdi Conservatorio are extremely serious, and at the time when I did, they still reflect the same program of Puccini time. So it was 10 years of studies. So for composition, so extremely serious. I started when I was 15 and I finished when I was 26, because I did 1 year more of specialization on contemporary music. But it was exactly composition which made me decide that it's important to have a very strong preparation. So of course, it's something very obvious, but it's something very important to remind. If you want to be successful, you need a very strong music education. You have to be absolutely committed. it's not about very often in Instagram I see messages or comments, how many hours you study. I study 4, I study 5. It's not about quantity, it's always about quality. Of course, training is very important. So the other point is how can I say, a psychological point.
Do you still compose?
Sorry?
Do you still compose?
No, I don't compose anymore. I don't compose anymore. So psychological pointing means that you have to be really focused on what you want to do. Try to not deviate in different things, but just go to your target, to go to your idea. It doesn't mean that you cannot do many things. I will tell you something, that to be a conductor, I did, I cannot say 100, but tens of different jobs in my life.
Okay.
And every job I've done was in some way useful for the preparation of my conductor life. I make you examples. I know you will smile, but when I was 14, 15, I needed to earn some money. So I was playing piano bar in parties of rich people.
That's completely fine.
No, but and why it was important? Because very often they were asking me songs, they were asking me a tune, and I was able to improvise very often. So, for example, when I was 16, from 16 to 18, I entered in a recording studio for TV. You know, the TV advertising. The music for TV advertising, 30 seconds or 15 or 30 seconds. So I was writing music for advertising. And I don't know, when I was 24, I became chorus master in Teatro Donizetti in Bergamo. You know, Bergamo is a city very near to Milano. It's not very big, but now it's quite famous because there is a festival, Donizetti in Bergamo. So they offered me to be the chorus master of the opera. I accepted for 1 year, but because I had in mind that I wanted only to conduct, after 1 year, I quit the job. But anyway, it was 1 year of strong experience conducting. You know what I mean? I mean, you can do many other things if all the other things help you to arrive to the point you want to arrive. Of course, if we speak, maybe I do a small parenthesis about singers, it's okay.
Of course.
I think there was something I was thinking, preparing our meeting today, that in singer's life and many instrumentalists' life, of course, the big bridge to the professional life is finding a good manager, a good agent. Yes. And I receive every day, and I encourage also our friends who are following us today to don't hesitate to contact me in Instagram, in Facebook. I mean, I always answer. This is something I like to do. Very often I receive this question, Maestro, how can I start to sing in Chicago, in Zurich, in Berlin, where you conduct? And of course, the answer is, I'm sorry, it's very difficult to do it personally, because everything goes through managers. And I was thinking yesterday, so what is the right way to be able to meet managers? And actually today, I say today because 20 years ago, maybe it was not so clear. Today we have a lot of academies. In almost every major opera house in the world has an academy. I personally work with the Académie de l'Opéra de Paris. I work with Accademia della Scala. Of course, here in Chicago, there is a fantastic academy called Ryan Opera Center. They are really formidable teachers. And and then I know in Berlin, in Zurich, there is a fantastic academy. This is a very good transitional moment, which give you the possibility both to study and to enter in contact with the reality of an opera house, because very often singers in the academy, they do the covers. Marina covers means that principal singer is singing, and the cover means that if the principal is sick, the cover jumps in, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And or maybe they sing small roles, but just the possibility to sing even small roles or being a cover give the possibility to the young singer to be heard by a manager, by an artistic director, you know? So, of course, for composers is a completely different path, or chorus masters, because actually there are very few composers managers, or there could be managers. I could say the other way around. There are very few composers who are managed by managers. Composers is more, sorry to say this, it's a more lonely career, and it's a more a self multi-contact career.
Mm-hmm.
So a composer has to be enough open to be able to go to many concerts, to speak with musicians. The composer has to make, let's say, the public relation by her or himself. When for a singer, for an instrumentalist, of course, it's better to have a manager to do this kind of public relations.
But also you have to, it doesn't matter what kind of musician you are, probably you have to advertise yourself as well, yeah, in today's world.
Yes. I mean, I'm very happy. I have a very good manager, and so let's say that theoretically is my manager to do the advertising.
Yeah.
What is true is that today we have a formidable tool, which are the social media, which let us doing personally a very beautiful advertising of ourselves. Let's say that even if I have the privilege of conducting in some of the best opera houses and some of the best orchestras in the world, I still use social media very much, because I think that the advertising can be made by the manager is very different from the advertisement that we can make. And I can add something that social media if you are sincere with social media, this tool let people really feel your soul, your ideas, your human being, you know what I mean? And when, of course, a manager, in a way, sells you. And of course, this human side is a little bit lost. I have really daily, a lot of people writing me, and because they know I answer. And if a day I have no rehearsals or no concerts, they write me to ask me what's going on today. And so they chase the human side of Enrique Mazzola rather than the professional side. But still, this make a very beautiful connection with, let's say, a fan group, which can be very supportive in the career.
Of course. So for people who are not lucky to have a manager, so would you recommend still to be their social media profiles more personal or more professional?
I would say both. I make an example. For example, I understand personally. This is valid for me. You all can try different formulas, but I personally use Twitter in a very American way, fast messages, and in Twitter you can write even 30 times per day. And I do a mix of messages. I can say how beautiful is the day today, or that I'm studying Mozart 488, you know. I use Facebook, and then I use Facebook and Instagram in a different way. So Facebook, I use it in a more professional way. I show in Facebook really what I study. I speak about my concerts, the critic reviews, for example, of my concerts. So it's very, very about my profession. And I use Instagram in a more emotional way, let's say. So I can just post a photo of Lake Michigan or Zurich Lake and to write that I'm relaxing in this moment, which has nothing to do, of course, with my professional career, but shows a maybe unknown side of Enrique Mazzola to everybody.
It also shows you.
And in this way, sorry, Julia, in this way, you see, I answer to your both. So in some way, you can touch more intimate Enrique, and the other you see a more official. But I underline, this is absolutely about me. You can do the other way around. You can do a mix, but please, you have to know, and I would like to speak especially to our Russian friends, that let's say Western European world enjoy very much also to see your more intimate side. When I say intimate, of course you understand very well. I mean your daily life. I mean the food you like, and I know that in Russia you tend to be more look at the official of you. Yes, the photo of a concert, always, for example, the flowers after the concert. This is very typical of Russia, and if I may suggest, it should be also something a little bit more personal about your life. Also, US and Western Europe enjoy very much to see, and there is also a fact of how is perceived the figure of the artist. So I love this extremely high opinion of how in Russia has seen the role of artist. But this push everybody to give a quite a very official image of what is being an artist. Yes, and in let's say, I wanted to say in Europe, but in my heart, Russia is in Russia and Europe. We are all together. We are. But I know I don't want to make a political.
Oh no, it's not political. But
yeah,
same continent at least.
let's say in Western Europe,
yes.
Now people also start to enjoy to see that artists are very, how can I say, social people, very easy to speak. You understand? I try to explain better. Maybe for so many years, the figure of the artist in Western Europe was something very distant. Yes, Toscanini was a god. Yes, Kleiber, untouchable. Abbado, who can speak with Abbado? Yes, and you understand?
Yeah,
and
more accessible.
And today, actually, in West Europe, people enjoy more to understand that you can arrive to speak with Enrique Mazzola. Enrique Mazzola is a very nice person. You can speak with him. He's not just in a podium, high there, untouchable. You understand? So we are changing a little bit the parameters of what does it mean to be artist today. And social media helps a lot.
Yeah, of course. So you performed many times in Russia. Yeah, so
I did not so much in the recent years, actually.
Yeah, but you have to. So just what would you recommend to the particularly Russian musicians? Yeah, what they miss? Yeah, what they have to change to achieve like international career?
Yeah, well, I think that you touched the point, because you finished your phrase with international career. So I see that there are a lot of possibilities in Russia.
Mhm.
There are so many opera houses. Of course, there are the top opera houses, Mariinsky and Bolshoi, but then there is a big market in Russia. The problem is that the risk is to become, let's say, or a Russian star or a well-known Russian singer for Russia. So the big step for singers and instrumentalists is to be brave enough to go beyond the borderlines of Russia and to try to project them into Europe, for example.
Mhm.
But you know that when I was a young conductor in Italy, I just tell you a small short anecdote. I mean, Italy is the home of opera, yes?
Of course.
So when I started to conduct in Italy, I was conducting, I don't know, in Napoli, San Carlo, in Santa Cecilia, Roma, in Rossini Opera Festival, in Teatro Massimo Palermo. These are fantastic theaters, but Italy, it was Italy. And I had an Italian manager, and he said to me, Enrique, what do you want? You are conducting in the best opera houses in the world. Why you want to go outside Italy? And it's when I changed manager, because I found another person who really opened my eyes and said, Enrique, please, you know the Alps, the mountains, is in the north of Italy. Yes. Enrique, you have to see what happens beyond the Alps. And so my first contracts were in France, Bordeaux, Opéra de Bordeaux.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Stuttgart, Stuttgart Opera. And actually, it's when I started my international career. I think I would not be here in this really prestigious Chicago Lyric Opera. I would not be the principal guest conductor in Berlin if I had not the if I didn't decide to be so brave to look for something outside Italy, which was more difficult. I started even to earn less because it was the first time going in Bordeaux. So the fee was maybe the half of what I was taking in Rome, but it was a necessary step. So my suggestion is, it's okay. You have fantastic academies. For example, in Bolshoi Opera, it's one of the best in the world, but you have to really to be brave enough to understand that you really need to go, I mean, to keep your Russian career, which is super important, but also to try to go.
And this, the way to go out, basically trying some academies, right? Opera studios.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to remind our attendees that they can ask questions. There is a chat, yeah, Q&A in the menu. So please don't hesitate to ask questions, yeah, to Maestro. What is to be right now in Chicago Opera? So is it different from Europe or from other theaters?
Well, in this very moment, everything is closed. You know, I mean, with this pandemic.
Yes, and how we survive, actually, what you will recommend as well to our artists, how to manage this situation, from your perspective.
Yes, I will tell you something. Of course, I'm an artist, as you all following us in this very moment.
Yes.
So there is nothing more frustrating like the impossibility to perform. So I completely understand you, and I'm sure you completely understand me when I'm telling you this. I remember that I was in Berlin in beginning of March. I was conducting the Meyerbeer. Meyerbeer is a German composer, yeah, a Meyerbeer cycle. And 3 days later, the opera closed, yes. And for me, it was really difficult. Then I received cancellations about, I had the Elisir d'Amore in Glasgow Festival, I had Rigoletto in Bregenz. It was, now I had to conduct Attila in Chicago, you understand? So it was really very, 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 very hard. What I decided, for example, during the first lockdown period, it was, for example, to film. You can go online in the YouTube of Lyric Opera of Chicago. I've done a series called Breaking Down the Score, Attila with Enrique Mazzola, in which I read every single number of Attila, but from a conductor perspective. And I filmed by myself. I didn't know how to use iMovie, and I learned how to use iMovie. So if you check the editing of the first episode and you check the editing of the 12th episode, you see how 12th is really
well, but this is also
masterpiece.
important skill, right, to learn for also from the musicians how to use.
This is what I want to say. So in this pandemic period, actually, has been very important in the whole world because pushed us to be creative. All the music world is a little bit relying on somebody asking us to play something, or manager selling us to, or opera houses organizing. No, now in this period, we have nobody behind us. So it's the moment to be creative. And so I have done this series that goes, for example, once a week in the social media and YouTube of Lyric Opera of Chicago. In 2 weeks, I'm conducting in Detroit. I've just finished a video about Histoire du Soldat by Stravinsky. And today, after our webinar, I start part 2, Siegfried Idyll, for example. So I play myself the piano. For example, in January, the contemporary opera I had to conduct in Chicago has been canceled. So I invented from zero a web concert with the young singers of Ryan Opera Center of the Academy in Chicago, and with very rare chamber music by Italian operatic composers. You understand? It's the period to be magicians. You know, when the magician make like this and takes out the rabbit.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is our moment to be like this. We all have our possibilities, our skills. Put your skills online now. Do it.
Well, thank you so much. It's a very good advice. So
we have a couple of questions.
We have a couple of questions. Let me see. From a conductor's point of view, what musical pieces are most difficult to play, most exciting? From Danila Tolstov.
From a conductor point of view, which are the most difficult pieces to conduct?
Yes.
The most difficult to play, but most exciting.
I don't know, probably 20th and 21st century music, of course. I mean, and especially the world premieres. I mean, why? Because very often when you conduct a world premiere, you don't have even any discographic reference,
exactly.
You know, so that it's in my and composer's idea to realize something which is completely new and never heard. And
but do you like to be the first one who is creating, basically?
Yeah. So this is something you missed when you read my biography. I conducted several.
I just couldn't read everything.
I know.
Of course, yeah.
You
mentioned that actually.
Yeah, but I think it's important we mention. So I'm very engaged in contemporary music. I conducted several world premieres, also a contemporary opera for La Scala, a contemporary opera for Bayerische Staatsoper, contemporary opera for Opera di Roma, for Rossini Opera Festival. I mean, and in my 7 years in Paris, I commissioned maybe 30 different pieces for orchestra. And here in Chicago, also I want to conduct contemporary opera, so to make people understand how important it is today to have a contemporary music in our offer to the audience.
Yes, yes. And are you open, for example, for new composers to submit some of their pieces to you? And would you consider to perform them somewhere?
It happens very often. With the fact that now I'm in charge of one opera house and I'm principal guest conductor of another opera house, I have no possibility to perform symphonic pieces. So now it happens that very often I receive, and my answer is, I'm sorry, I have done 7 years in Paris with a symphonic orchestra. Probably I could have, but now with the opera, I don't have space for this. And it's very difficult that somebody shows me actually an opera, because this is a big work.
A very complex piece, yeah.
Yeah, and I would in general suggest to wait to write an opera only when you have a commission.
Okay, well, that's very good advice, yeah, for our composers. And actually, we have one question for a composer, Emmanuel Dubois. Carlo, can you read it, please?
So what is the market appetite for new large operas, or do budget constraints limit composers to writing mono operas or duo operas?
Well, I think that the market appetite is always open, always alive. Of course, Western Europe, I think, is where there is the biggest concentration of this appetite. So let's say Germany, France, Switzerland, Austria, UK, Scandinavian countries, Italy and Spain, not that much. And in some way, but not that much, Poland, Czech Republic, and so on. In US, there is an appetite, but you have to know, and this is also to complete your question of before, Julia, you have to know, dear friends, that the US, the system is completely different from EU. So all the music system is supported by privates, not by institutions.
Yes, we
so
know.
if Paris Opera commissions an opera to you, it's the state to pay the opera to you. If Chicago commissions to you an opera, it's a group of private wealthy people, donors, sponsors, we can call them, but it's private people. It's not Amazon. It's not. It's a private person. They have a name and surname. And it's only because they have a special passion for you, composer. You understand? So it's more difficult. It's more a relation. I know you, and then I sponsor you.
So it leads us to the beginning of our conversation, and you have to really make connections for if you are a composer, it's very important relationship.
So I answer for US. There is a market for large operas if you know personally then the sponsors.
Great. So we have one more
in Russian. Yeah. So from Evgeny Markov. Hello, maestro. So the question is, besides the classical music, do you listen other genres, and what is your feelings about them?
Listen, this is a very beautiful question. I will answer fast, but it's fascinating because in general, I learn to divide the music not in classic, jazz, rock, pop, in genre, but I learn to classify music in beautiful, well-written music and badly written music. So actually, yes, I listen a lot of rock. Dire Straits are my favorite group, but I mean, it's a group of the 70s. Maybe many of you even don't know this group, but they really compose and they play this music in a very virtuoso way. So I can say these are artists. And then, of course, I like very much, for example, Nora Jones as a jazz, let's say, jazzy word. She very often writes the songs for herself. She's a very intelligent interpreter, and she's very curious. So one CD is more jazzy, one CD is more pop with jazz influence. So she's very curious. And let's say I try to absorb every kind of stimulation, music stimulation from outside, and to make and to elaborate it. So, and I recognize there is horrible pop music and there is very intelligent pop music. Yeah.
That's true.
Great. So we're almost running out of time, and we're going to take one more questions and wrap up, if you may. Yeah, we'll cover it the same person.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So Carolina asked, what is your advice regarding performing bel canto repertoire, talking from the perspective of the singer? And then she prefaced it, how do you work on a piece of new music, especially bel canto?
Okay, so we're speaking of bel canto, I understand.
Yes.
What is your advice regarding performing as a singer? Yeah, singing bel canto. My advice singing bel canto is
That's a big question.
yeah. I mean, we can do another hour.
Another hour, exactly.
Okay. Actually, you can think maybe we could
we will have to have it. I'm sure.
Bel canto hour with me. But okay, as the majority of the bel canto repertoire is in Italian, number one, you have to work Italian pronunciation. And why I put this first? Because once you have a very good Italian pronunciation, this helps all the projection of the sound.
That's very good advice.
Syllables, vowels, related to how you can use, for example, the legato in a norma casta diva is an aria, norma. Yes, and, or how you can use manage the staccato, for example, in a Rossini opera. So basic, really find a very good Italian coach. You are Polish?
Carolina Kerlansik. Well, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So, a very good Italian coach. Don't hesitate. Find one. Try to speak Italian. And I know it can be boring because you can say, I don't want to learn Italian. But your question was specifically about bel canto, so I specifically recommend you to study Italian, and you will see that half of your effort, in a way, is done, because through the beautiful pronunciation of the Italian, you can use it to build the phrase, the typical phrase of bel canto. Then of course, hundreds of other recommendations, but Julia, of course, I cannot.
Yeah, well, just quick question, related to that. What do you think about portamentos?
Portamento?
In bel canto, yeah.
Well, you have to know. So, first of all, you have to know that I study very seriously the operas I perform. So serious that very often I study the operas on the manuscript, on the original manuscript. Yes. So, for example, the big Don Pasquale DVD of Glyndebourne, I turned page by page, of course, facsimile of the manuscript, so that I checked every legato or portamento line Donizetti wrote or actually didn't write. So, first big important answer. If you want to be precise, buy critical editions. Now, Ricordi has done a lot of critical editions. Writer, you find everything of Mozart. So, I'm sorry, try to budget it. It's very important to have the right and the right scores. And I've seen when I was conducting in Bolshoi that very often you arrive with very bad editions. And this is very important. In the right critical editions is really written when the composer wants to make a portamento or doesn't want. Actually, I'm in bel canto repertoire. I'm very sober with portamenti. I mean, I don't encourage singers to do many portamenti unless the composer specifically writes. This is a big point of how developed my reading of bel canto. I think that all the answers to our questions are written already in the score. So my well-known now interpretations of Poliuto, of Don Pasquale, or Elisir d'Amore, or or Maria Stuarda, which I conducted now in Zurich, are really based on a very strict, of course, emotional, constructive reading of the manuscript. So I like the audience to enjoy the real bel canto, the truth. And the only person who can give us the truth is the composer himself.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much. This is very helpful also for me because I'm as well a singer. So at the end of our interview, conversations, would you like to share with us any of your future events, plans, and that we can share with our audience?
Well, I'm showing you this course because the 3rd and the 4th of December, I'm conducting 2 live stream concerts from Detroit with the Detroit Symphony. I will conduct Histoire du Soldat, a soldier's tale by Stravinsky, and Ravel Pavan pour un enfant défunte. Then, yes, Mozart Piano Concerto for 8/8, and Wagner Siegfried Idyll. So this is live streaming. Then in January, as I told you, I'm preparing a lot of web projects for Chicago. Then in March, I should conduct L'Acme at Deutsche Oper Berlin. In May, I should conduct Anna Bolena in Amsterdam. In July, I should conduct Lisa Miller at the Glyndebourne Festival. And many other things. But we really hope to reopen and to restart making music live. Yeah.
So if it will be not live, do you think they will consider to make it online as well, like virtual production?
Maybe. I don't know. What I learned in this very moment, and this is the last minute, is that every opera house, every orchestra in this moment is working in a 1-2 months range. Well, I want to say that in Chicago we are used to work in a 5 years range. In this moment we are still programming 2024. In this very moment, about what is going on in January, February, March, April next, we decided maybe 1 month before. It's not possible. It's not possible to program anything.
So, and where can we watch these virtual concerts in December? Will it be posted on your YouTube channel?
No, it will be live on Detroit Symphony Orchestra page.
Okay, very good. So we will follow actually our webinar to our attendees with all your information.
And by the way, this breaking down the score I mentioned you can find in the YouTube channel of Lyric Opera of Chicago.
Okay, thank you so much.
We've shared your as well social media outlets on the chat, both on YouTube and here. So please feel free to follow Enrique. This has been a pleasure, and thank you so much for your time. We definitely it ran away really quickly. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you.
Well, hopefully we will do another session about bel canto.
Yeah. Hear you all and stay safe. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, Maestro. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight or today morning. And we are having another webinar in a few minutes with American famous conductor Gregory Buchalter. And you can find direct link to the webinar right now in the chat. And we will see you in a few.
We will start in 10 minutes.